we were both studying accounting and finance, and we studied that, but we couldn't apply that into being able to trade. मतलब हमको बताया जा रहा था कि क्या डीमैट होता है, but क्या करना है वो कोई बता नहीं रहा था. So that 0 to 1 journey was always difficult. I think our biggest problem right now, what we're dealing with, is being able to get professionals in the country who can walk the walk and talk the talk. What I mean by that is application learning is a problem, and that is what we are trying to solve. I'll give you an example. I did my bachelor's in financial markets, where I expected I will learn how to invest in the stock markets, financial markets, capital markets. It taught us the theory, but it never taught us the application. It was taught in the right theory way, but they never taught us how to transition it. So we say that 0 to 1 experience is very important. That is the problem we are trying to solve. We need kids to start invest in themselves primarily, so that when they come out as the final product, they can be great assets to companies which are dying to pick them up. Tell me one company in the country which would not pick up a great talent from you. So that the challenge is killing today.
So a brief background about yourself and how you entered into this industry.
To talk about how we started the journey, we were actually pretty stupid and dumb when we were 22, 23 years old. So me and my co-founder Pratham, we started this company called Zell Education back in the day. The idea was, we were both studying accounting and finance. College, we were doing financial market, and we studied that, but we couldn't apply that into being able to trade. मतलब हमको बताया जा रहा था कि क्या डीमैट होता है, but क्या करना है वो कोई बता नहीं रहा था. So that 0 to 1 journey was always difficult. The second thing was, I was studying my chartered accountancy and my company secretary, and Pratham had already become ECCA, which is from the UK. So he was already working in his PwC. So obviously we were friends since a while. So we discussed how can we do something which is in our domain, which no one already almost focuses on. But the domain which we are in is sector agnostic. In a marketing company also, accounting and finance will be there, because that's literally the crux of a business after a point of time. So that is how we thought, and we sort of brainstorm about how can we get education which is global, which is accessible at a cheaper cost. You know, if you do an MBA in the country, I'm assuming you go to any decent college, it will be north of 7, 8, 10 lakh rupees, correct? Right. It goes up until 40, 50 lakh rupees. Our degree programs, you can work literally in the world. If you want to work in Bombay, you want to work in Singapore, you want to work in New York, that dream is actually possible if you're studying some of our programs. And that's how we started the journey, that we sort of quit our jobs. I quit my articleship. I had finished my articleship. Pratham literally quit his job at PwC. He was getting paid as well as a chartered accountant at a younger age because of his degree, which is called the ECCA. And we sort of came together and we said, you know what, there's nothing to lose at 22, 23. Or डर भी नहीं होता ना at 22, 23 that you can fail. So that is how we sort of said, chalo, let's try it. If it fails, then we lose 6, 7 months a year. But we were pretty committed to our dream. We sort of grinded it. We came together. We had limited funds. We started the company with about 10,000-15,000 rupees is what I remember, and we couldn't afford an office back then. So we would sort of work from anywhere, our father's offices, our houses, college canteens. We would meet students anywhere and everywhere as possible, and sort of we got in kids to sign up for our program. Our program also had merit. They could work in a big four, but for example, if you don't want to do your chartered accountancy, I'm giving an example, but you want to study accounting, you can. Or you want to become a professional accountant, you can study our program. You want to look at finance, but you probably want to do your MBA later, you can do your CFA at this point in time. So that is a little bit about how we started Zell. About me, I was studying my chartered accountancy and company secretary, come from decently humble background. We had a family business which was going on, but I didn't want to enter that. So when we were studying finance, obviously drew me in a little bit. Chartered accountancy would prompt me to go and work over there. And while I was studying, I realized that, I don't want to probably do my chartered accountancy. I want to do something where I can do many things. And Zell was born at that point of time.
So why only this domain you have chosen? What are the career opportunities for the students? Because see, we have seen CAs and accountants working in this industry. Why you have chosen this industry? And what are the outcomes of what you are teaching?
It's a good question. Why this industry and why not focus, sort of diversify into other things? What we understood was this was a program, this was a sector which a lot of people are not touching upon. And we clearly were students of this domain. So we understood the pain points which were there, which were going on in this industry. For example, you don't need to do the toughest program in the country to be able to get a good job or to be able to start your business. You need to understand it very well. You would like to understand it, you want to understand the concepts of it. Accounting and finance is sector agnostic. आप किधर भी जाओ, आपको accountants चाहिए ही, आपको finance folks चाहिए ही, So our goal was honestly to look at, what our pain points were that हम पढ़ाई कुछ और कर रहे थे but काम तो वो और ही कुछ कर रहे थे. I'll give you an example. I cleared my IPCC, I cleared my CS Foundation examination. By the time I thought, you know what, I'm killing it at 19 years old. When I started my articleship, on day one, my boss told me to write a letter to the income tax, a normal letter, an appeal letter. I did not know that. Simple, right? We've been taught letter writing, but we didn't know how to put that, translate our technical knowledge into words. So that's how bad the state of education is or was. And we wanted to sort of get away from that. And we wanted a little bit more an education system where application can be at the fore. And that is how we chose this sector, because this sector we understood the pain points. Also, second thing is we were all, both students of this particular sector, so we understood not only the pain points but what to do to ensure that students who are coming in now don't have to go through that. So, and third was we felt comfortable to be able to take money from someone, take their fees, and be able to give them best service. Because service is something I'll talk a little bit about service a little later, but that is something which we want to hold in the utmost regards for a kid to come in. So that is why we sort of chose this sector. We are staying in this sector. I think focus in one particular area, becoming specialists in one particular area, is appreciated by a crowd. They like the fact that we are doing what we are doing, we're doing it decently well. If you're not the Harvard over there, I'm sure we're doing it in an IIM capacity we are at. So that is why we've sort of stuck to this sector. We started with this sector. We started initially teaching ourselves because we couldn't afford professors. But we knew what we were teaching. And we taught in the way we knew आपको real life में कहाँ application होगा और आपको company क्या पूछने वाली है और आपको पढ़ाई में आपको exam में क्या लिखना चाहिए जो आप पास करें.
So what is the passing percentage do students opt for? And do they opt for any degree, but doing a similar degree in the same domain?
So most of the kids, see, look, graduation comes very inherently to an Indian, right? We are told that we should be going through college for 3 years. Now, there are people who obviously pursue it. The good part about being in India is that education is very low cost. At least doing graduation from a government college is low cost. I think back in the day, I was in HR college in Mumbai, which was back then still is one of the best colleges in Mumbai. And we would think in my 11th and 12th standard, I barely paid 2,000 rupees as fees. It was that easy. Education was accessible, number one. And the second thing which was happening was that graduation came sort of very naturally to that. Itna to kar hi raho. It's the most safe place for Indians to be at. So kids sort of chose graduation. Yes, but now things are changing a little bit. We've seen that people want to do integrated programs. What that means is BBA with an ACCA probably, a BCom with an ACCA. It allows them to have global qualifications, but at the same point in time, they can also fulfill their dream of finishing college or university. So this is a norm which is increasingly picking up. And I think BCom has been an education which has become a little bit stagnant now. It needs a little refresher, and these programs are coming in and changing, and again global systems in. What I mean by global, why I'm touching upon is global. ECCA has a concept called IFRS, which is International Foreign Reporting Standard, and globally all the companies in the world have adopted that. India has also adopted a version of it, which India calls INDAS, INDA. Now, why is IFRS so important for a kid to do is that they can study this and they can go and work in every multinational company in the world. If they want to work, obviously. They can also start their own company, and if they are in the business of working with different nations because of globalization, they can apply this over there also. So it's giving them a global benefit. It's also giving them a professional qualification. You don't necessarily need to, if they don't want to sign a balance sheet, they should do an ACCA in India. It's fantastic. They should do the CMA in India. It gives you an internal depth of what management accountants do. I'll talk a little bit about what they do also. So yeah, global degrees are getting more and more accepted in the country. But that doesn't mean that the Indian graduation system is not great. I think it's absolutely great. It just needs a little refresher. And refreshing is happening by accepting global programs. Look, we're in the business of exam prep. We need to ensure that kids are mollycoddled, and they are made to ensure that we look at a 70 to 80 passing percentage. Means that out of 10 kids, usually at Zell, 8 of them clear, which is a very high percentage compared to a global percentage, which is a global passing percentage is 40 to 50%. We're literally almost double of that. And I can open my laptop and show you at any point of time through data that we are normally at 80-85%. Because a lot of students do a lot of levels in these things. A lot of papers are there in ACCA. There are 13 papers in ACCA. There are 3 levels in CFA. So only if you are able to clear one level can you go to the other level. So kids would want to go to the best institute which allows them for the right ecosystem to be able to clear. and exam prep is mainly focused on clearing the examination.
A major confusion. I won't say a major confusion, but these are the modern new age programs that we call ECCA, CFA, CMA and IFRS. Because CA was the program which everybody knew that if you want to be in a highest level of accountancy job you want, then you should go for CA.
Okay.
So where these programs came from? ACCA, CMA, IFRS. And so it's international programs or what?
So these are international programs. So they are coming into India right now. But ACCA is actually over a 150-year-old organization. Similarly, for the other CFA, CMA, these are all over 100 years old. They call themselves 100 years young in every way possible, but yeah, they are there in the world. So, see, the Indian Chartered Accountant, the ICAI, was established in the late 1940s, and it was made so that India can focus on accounting. It's a brilliant organization. It focuses on great core education. Anyone who studies in the ICAI can become a chartered and clears the chartered accountancy. They can subscribe to the right of being able to sign a balance sheet, audit statements. But necessarily, not everyone might need to work in that. Not everyone might want to sign a balance sheet. You want to do your own business. The CA fundamentals are great, but CA fundamentals are always fundamentals across the world. What I mean by that is a cost accounting will always be a cost accounting in the world. So a financial management is always going to be, it's the same practices, same rules, same laws. The only thing which changes is tax laws of every particular country. Tax laws, corporate laws are different. So that is why every country had their own chartered accountancy body. So the US had CPA, the UK has ICAEW and ACCA, and so on and so forth. So that is where ACCA came in and said that globally, you can do your accounting, your finance, your costing, all of that. However, you can, if you want to do your local tax laws and you want to completely specialize, then you should choose the local body, which is. So it's an open body. It gives you the option of being able to work in a MNC across the world, because an MNC is also very accepting of the fact that they get professional accountants. To answer your question, they are not very old organizations. They're fairly old organizations. They've come into India, so it's very young, and hence people are a little, should I take this, should I not take this? Now, CFA has been in India over 15 years. It was banned for a few years also between 2007 to 10, if I
remember, because for giving the CFA exam, you had
to go to Nepal,
Nepal or Bangladesh.
So you had to go for the CPA exam, which is a US CPA, you had to go and give it in Dubai.
Okay.
But now, because India is becoming the knowledge powerhouse of the world, okay, and we have to ensure that we're looking at education in a global sense. Now, for any company which is global in nature, American in nature, India में उसका कोई ना कोई captive center तो बैठा ही रहेगा. What I mean by that is that any company in the US might have global captive center in India and a KPO in India. They will need to know the laws over there. So, but naturally CPA took a lot of prevalence over there. And in 2020 in COVID, the CPA body actually took a very nice step of opening the exam center in India. So it allowed Indians also to be able to not fly abroad, not to go to Dubai, not to go to US, and they could write the examination from India. So yeah, the world is also accepting that that India is becoming a knowledge powerhouse. They must have their education centers in India. Literally one of the fastest growing economies in the world. So, but naturally all the education bodies at some point of time will shift to India.
So in education, when we say we all have competitors, how do you differentiate from yourself from other competition that you have in the market?
It's a good question. Helping a student choose which particular organization to choose. As I have gone to the bigger brands in chartered accountancy to study, and there's always some local person who's very popular. However, any student who's choosing should have a few he or she should be looking at. They should see that the portion gets completed on time. The professor should be there over and above that to help you with doubts, because you're in the business of exam prep. Exam prep का मतलब है कि आपको exam लिखना पड़ेगा, पास करना पड़ेगा, तब जाके ही आपको डिग्री मिलेगी, आप दूसरे लेवल में जाओगे. Now, what started happening was that I have been to tuition centers. They were big ones, we were sitting in 300 odd students in a class, but there was no attention per se. There was no interaction per se. There was no relationship building. At Zell, we had this pain point, obviously, where we wanted to ensure that the student is connected with the institute in some or the other way. Most institutes have a connection, but that is also at a college and a university level and MBA school level. But especially in a virtual world, we understood that we need to be connected with our students. So our unique proposition was that we ensured that the focus is absolutely 110% only on quality of teaching. And the second thing which we did was, we made sure that the ecosystem is correct. I'll tell you one of the concepts which, again, it's somewhere globally adopted, but we liked it a little bit. A professor should be teaching, a student should be learning. You shouldn't ask the professor to do too many admin things, more than what is necessary. जो आप इंडियन कॉलेजेस में देखते हो वो बहुत एडमिन काम भी करते हैं, तो टीचिंग बैक सीट लिया जाता है. हमने वो 4 पे हम बोले कि नहीं, आपका काम टीचिंग करना है. द सेकंड पर्सन हु इज गोइंग टू कम इन इज द पर्सन हु इज गोइंग टू बी लुकिंग एट द एडमिन स्टफ. सो देयर आर पीपल डेडिकेटेडली हु डू दैट. नाउ अ प्रोफेसर हैज टू टीच आल्सो, हैज टू लुक एट कंटेंट आल्सो, हैज टू लुक एट एडमिन आल्सो, हैज टू लुक एट पासिंग पर्सन. इट्स अ बिग जॉब, एंड देन डूइंग इट फॉर सो मेनी स्टूडेंट्स. अगेन, right now we serve over 10,000 students. The number is very large. So again, we need to make sure that every student is looked at. Whoever comes in the ecosystem has to get the best service. We have to be absolutely unreasonable towards that. So we created a unique proposition where we created the right ecosystem. You can study with mentors. Okay, there's a subject matter expert where agar aapko at some point of time before your examination you want a doubt solving, you just make sure that you can contact he or she through our support numbers. They will schedule a doubt session with you and help you clear the doubt. The professor is always there to ensure that you can constantly you can revisit chapters, you can revisit concept questions, etc. and make sure that you're looking at it in an exam prep kind of way. Over and above that, ek to technical side ho gaya. There's always also an emotional side of students who are feeling the pressure, who are doubting their abilities before the exam. So we have mentors to make sure that life becomes a little easy for them. So this is what we've created, which has been our best unique proposition, the best quality the best in class quality, an absolute focus towards professors and the right ecosystem to ensure that kids can get the right environment to clear the exam.
Okay, so every problem creates an innovation. And as someone who has experienced it, what do you believe in to create a solution?
So I think our biggest problem right now, what we're dealing with, is being able to get professionals in the country who can walk the walk and talk the talk. What I mean by that is application learning is a problem, and that is what we are trying to solve. I'll give you an example. I did my bachelor's in financial markets, where I expected I will learn how to invest in the stock markets, financial markets, capital markets by large. Now, capital markets is not only stock, right? You can invest into debt, bonds, etc. But again, our knowledge was limited. It taught us the theory, but never taught us the application. How do I call the broker back then, now through online apps, etc. And what stock to pick? How do I look at company? So it was taught in the right theory way, but they never taught us how to transition it. Now, it's not always their job to teach that, but it's also the imperative of a student to take that. So inquisitiveness took over. We started understanding how do we look at sort of investing in stock. The problem in stock markets is that obviously everyone's running behind short-term gains, but it's more of a long-term process. So I also was a victim of that. I started playing a little bit in the stock markets with whatever funds we had, and I learned it the hard way. But I also learned in that process what not to do. And that became a small program which we were able to explain. I guess I can tell you I've taught at least 2,000 to 3,000 kids in that program. It's a very short-term program. It doesn't tell you that you do the program and you can become a millionaire. No, it tells you what not to do and get started. You can sort of dip your toe in the water, or you can just jump in the water. So we say that 0 to 1 experience is very important. That is the problem we are trying to solve. We need kids to start, invest in their education, invest in themselves primarily, so that when they come out as a final product, they can be great assets to companies which are dying to pick them up. Tell me one company in the country which would not pick up a great talent company. So that the challenge is killing today, and we're trying to overcome that by having finance program, short-term finance program. We're launching an program on environment, sustainability and governance also. We have a basic of finance and accounts for kids who want to do short-term programs. For kids who are looking to do long-term programs, get a professional qualification, they can do the ECCA, they can do the CFA, they can do the CMA, etc. So we have an array of programs they can choose from, but again, in the same domain of finance and accounts.
When people enroll at Zell Education, what mindset do they typically come from, and how does this transformation end their journey?
They come from all kinds of backgrounds, to be very honest. There are kids who some of them know what they want to do. Some of them are very clear कि मुझे CMA करना है, CFA करना है. Some of them are confused. So India's a diverse country, and we don't only serve India. In an online setup, before COVID also, we were serving kids from different countries, like countries we never heard of before we started serving them. I remember back in 2017, I had a student from Turks and Caicos. I didn't know back then, and it was the Caribbean islands. He used to stay up all night because of the time difference and attend our lectures, because we're doing global education. Today we serve students from 30 different countries. everyone comes from a different mindset, but everyone's goal is similar, to attain a good qualification which can enable them either to get a good job, either to work in a good company, either to start their own company, or just knowledge purpose. So the transformation happens when they go through levels of education, you know. Every professional qualification has always been layered. You do the basics, you go to the intermediate, then you go to the final. So that is a little bit about the qualifications which they do. As far as talking about outcomes, let's talk about outcomes. I remember back in 2018 or 19, we had a kid call us and she told us that, listen, I've not been able to clear my chartered accountancy multiple times. And we sort of understood that she's looking for options. So we obviously told her that, look, this is our area of programs, you can choose. Back then she chose the ECCA. She was able to clear the ECCA within about 12 to 15 months. And what happened was that coincidentally a company was hiring her in, I think, the Bombay or the Delhi office. I don't remember. Fast forward a few months later, she said that she got from the same company, there was an internal promotion or whatever transfer done in the Middle East. Then she actually got in another 6 to 12 months a job in San Francisco. Now, I'm not saying we're the reason. She absolutely must have worked hard at the company because of it. But the only thing which we enabled her to do was she came from a position where she was absolutely exhausted, finishing one of the toughest exams in the world. She was able to come to the ECCA, where a little bit more progressive mindset is there in terms of clearing examination. And she was able to ensure that she was able to apply what she was taught by us, because we always take an application learning mindset. And she was able to, and I mean, we're still in good touch. We're still in touch with her. I think she's doing fairly well in her career. But the good part about education is you can touch lives by this. And that is what we did back in the day. We still continue to do that. Some of our kids have become venture caps. Some of our kids are working. They started their own funds. Quite literally, that's surprising. There are 26, 27-year-olds running their own fund. Some of them are working in the big four in industry. Some of them have joined the family businesses. Some of them gone abroad. So yeah, a varied level of kids. I think we get students from literally almost every state in the country, and again 30 odd countries in the world. So we're handling a very diverse bunch of people. We have CFOs learning with us. We have some people from Bollywood studying finance with us. So yeah, each to its own about what their goal is. But their goal is always to learn something in the finance and accounting domain. And we try our best to help them on their journey. And we also, obviously, look, we're a fairly young company. So we keep learning also about how can we better servicing for them.